Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Kemi, and I'm here to talk about Real Housewives of Rhode Island, season 1, episode 5. Now before we begin, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and turning on your post notifications so you'll know whenever I post. All right, so we start the episode off with Alicia, and we do the little montage. So we see Alicia, she's at her house, she's getting ready for Joe, Ellen, and Liz to come over, and then we see Rulla, she's at her house, and she is she's talking to her office assistant to check her schedule or whatever. Then we see Rosie, she's at her house, she's at her home with her dog, and she gets a call from one of her friends. I think his name was Jack. I can't remember. Um, but he's throwing, or I can't remember the friend's name, but he called her because he's throwing a boat party for his partner, whose name is Jack. If I'm not mistaken, Jack is the one who had the birthday party. So he's throwing a boat party for his partner, and he wants her to invite the girls. She isn't sure because she's saying the last time that she was with them, it didn't go too well, but she's gonna have fun no matter what. So then we see Joe Ellen show up at Alicia's house. Sorry. So she lost her grandfather. He was like a second father to her because her father was a flight attendant. So whenever her father was gone, her grandfather would step in for all the events. And then when her father passed, her grandfather was one who walked her down the aisle, and he was the second father to her or whatever. So she found out that he was about to pass while she was away in Chicago because the last episode, she wasn't really there because she was away on work or whatever. So she was able to FaceTime him, and yeah, she was able to FaceTime him and say her goodbye. So she feels good about it. So Liz shows up, and and then they talk about what happened in the last episode when they went to that ferry thingy, or not ferry, but the railroad boat, not boat, the railroad thingy or whatever that they did. And Liz is telling her how Rosie and Alicia got into it or whatever. So Joe Ellen wants to know if Rosie, no, if Rula and yeah, if Rosie and Rula had said anything about her, and they're just like, ain't nobody was talking about you, and it's just like, girl, they don't. It's you that's always talking about people. They not always talking about you. But I digress. So Liz tells Joe Ellen that attacking Ruler right now is low hanging fruit. She says in her confessional that Rula doesn't want to know, um, but she would have more respect for her if she would just say, it's none of y'all's business, and I'm gonna deal with it how I deal with it or whatever. So Joellen says, she feels bad for her and she's an empathetic person, and they laugh and they're just like, girl, you ain't empathetic. We see Kelsey, and she is at home setting up her salon. Um, we find out that when her boyfriend built the house, he had built this section of the house so that he could get his hair done there. And so she uses it now because she's been doing hair and makeup since like early on. So Ashley is there to get her hair done, and they're talking about, how she's done hair before, how she's always done hair, and that if she's gonna leave her boyfriend, she needs to start being self-sufficient or whatever. She talks about how she's scared about it. They talk about getting to know each other because every time that Ashley comes around, she's with Rosie. So they talk about Rosie, and Kelsey says Rosie, she can't open up with her. There's something about her that just doesn't click with her, and that one time she did her hair and she couldn't even give her a shout out or whatever. And she feels like Kelsey didn't support. I mean, Kelsey feels like Rosie didn't support her, and that's like kind of where their issue is or whatever. So once they're done with the hair, Ashley likes it. She takes a picture, and she takes a picture of the hair of her with her hair, and then she takes a picture with her and Kelsey, and she tags Kelsey on Instagram. So the reason why not Kelsey, but the reason why Ashley was getting her hair done is because she's about to go on a Royal Caribbean cruise that she's being sponsored for or whatever. So that's why she was getting her hair done. So we see Rosie, and she is at the marina for Jack's birthday. He knows some of the girls through his husband and something else, and through their he knows them as well as she knows them, and he knows them too. So all the girls show up. Dolores talks about the last time that she was there, she did something like this, and they discussed Joellen because she was saying that she was dating another guy at that time, and his sister, who went to the University of Rhode Island, was doing what they're doing, which is like going on a boat or something like that. And not Kelsey, but Joellen is talking about, she went there, and a lot of her sorority sisters are from Jersey or whatever. So they talk about how, what's the most thing that she's done through hazing. And she's just like, oh, nothing big, just had them drive me around. I was nice. I was actually much nicer back then. So, the boat shows up, and they all board, and they're all sailing or whatever. Rosie really isn't talking to the girls. She feels like every time she comes around, it's not good, and she feels like she's getting attacked, and she's like, she has to come to the realization that not everybody is going to like her. And I was just like, girl, you should have been come to that realization, because everyone is not going to like you. So as she's talking to Ashley, Liz comes over, and then, because she was telling Ashley about how she feels like, everyone's, hurt, why she's feeling the way she's been feeling. So Liz comes over, and Liz asks, what's going on. So she's starting to tell Liz, and then as Rosie is talking, Kelsey comes over. So then they start talking about supporting people, and Kelsey says she never shouted her out she never posted her picture. She never posted the haircut or whatever of her doing her hair. And Rosie was just like, you're just trying to find a reason to have a problem with me. And if you wanted me to do that, you should have just said something, and I would have did it. It's not my job to do it or whatever. And, it's not like, that's not the thing on my forefront of my mind. And she's just like, but you always shout out everyone who does your hair, and everyone who does your hair or does your makeup, you always shout them out. And it's just like, is she paying for those? Because she says she paid to get her hair done from you. If she's paying to get her hair done from you, why am I shouting you out? Honestly, if all those other people aren't charging me, and my fee is to post them on my Instagram, then yes, that's different. But hey, I understand, it's a social media world. These are the things that we got to do. So I get she pissed. Girl, shout her out. So Liz gets up because she's just like, I'm not about to deal with all this. They walk away. Jack doesn't want to have an awkward moment on his boat. So a few of the ladies are doing their own thing. And then Ashley, Rosie, and Kelsey, they're over there in the corner arguing or whatever. So Ashley wants to know how they can fix this. Can they do a retroactive shout out? And Kelsey is just like, just support everyone. And she gets up and walks away. And so Rosie is sitting there crying because, she says she's done with this or whatever. So we see Joellen and Alicia, and they're trying to do the Titanic or whatever. And they're looking at all that other stuff. So we see Liz. She and Gary are at the dock, and they are saying goodbye to the Gypsy, which is his boat. So they talk about the good times, the bad times, everything in between, and the next chapter. So we see Joellen. She is meeting with Rulla to discuss what has transpired between them or whatever. So Joellen is adamant that Rulla's husband is still cheating, and she shows her text messages that were sent to her from the not I'm sorry. Yeah, they were sent to her from the mistress because she knows the mistress because the mistresses their kids go to the same daycare or they used to go to the same daycare, something like that. So she knows the mistress, and she sent her their text messages. Rulla is saying it's a lie that's AI generated. She's heard this from other people. Her husband has told her himself that the lady isn't stable. Joellen believes that the mistress is crazy because she looked at all the messages and she was just like, oh wow, like, whoop de whatever. She thinks the lady is crazy, but Joe Ellen believes she does believe that the mistress is crazy. Rulla says, she has a GPS tracker on her husband and he's never slept away from the house. And Joe Ellen says, and he goes to her house every morning to bring her coffee. And Rulla says he's at the gym, and she says, does Brian look like he go to the gym? I was just like, girl, I'm not even gonna lie, I laughed at that. I chuckled at that. But I was just like, girl. So um Rulla says she would hope as a female that she would want to look out for each other. And Joellen's just like, that's what I'm trying to do. And we see Joellen in her confessional. She says that Rulla doesn't believe the truth, and neither did her mother. And whenever someone calls her a liar or makes her out to be a liar, she has to prove them wrong. And I was just like, and that's the problem. The lady is already telling you that she doesn't believe you. She believes her husband. That's the end of it. Leave it alone. Like, you keep harping on the fact that he is cheating on her. That's not your relationship. Okay, if he is cheating on her, if she don't want to know, you can like they say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. You done laid it out for her. It's now up to her on what she wants to do with it. And she's already told you she ain't going nowhere. She doesn't believe what you're telling her. So leave it alone. But of course, Joellen has to be right. So we gonna deal with this, I guess, the whole season. So she tells Rulla it's still happening with no regard to Rulla, and she's not trying to be an a-hole, and she doesn't want there to be any animosity between them. Rulla appreciates her for meeting with them one-on-one and for her to shoot straight and be honest with her. In Rulla's confessional, she says if she has real proof, she can bring it to her. But Joellen is being duped by the mistress, and she's taking a bait. Rulla says she isn't. She's gonna try to get past this, but she's been dealing with a lot. So we see Rosie. She's at home. She's on the phone with Ashley because again, Ashley's on that cruise, and she's Rosie is asking her if she's going to be back in time, and she's just like no. But they're going to a Polo because Alicia had invited her to go to the Polo, so they're all going to meet at Alicia's fiance's, I'm sorry, restaurant, Angelo's. And they're going to take a party bus down there, and Rosie is sad because because Ashley is not going to be there because every time she's gone anywhere, Ashley's always there. Like, that's her, the person who's always on her side and who's with her. So she's just like sad about it, but she's just like, you know what? She's gonna hop back in the lion's den because she wants to be a part of them. And again, she still ain't learned. Not everybody gonna like you, but I guess. So we see Alicia. She and Billy are at his family-owned restaurant, which is named after his dad. The crew shows up. Kelsey is annoyed with Rosie. She brings her boyfriend Billy. But she's annoyed with Kelsey. She's so aggravated by her, and it's just like, girl, why are you letting that girl is over there sitting there doing her own thing, not being bothered by you, and you are so bothered by her. You are the one with the problem because that girl is not checking for you. So Everyone shows up. Rulla and Brian are last. When they get there, he gets a call from his father saying that something's wrong with the mom and they about to take her to the hospital. So everybody's getting on the party bus. Rulla and Brian get on the party bus and say they can't, they gotta go because his mom is going to the hospital. So they'll try to meet them at the polo event or whatever. So as they're they what's it called, they leave, the party bus starts to drive, everybody is like having fun because the husbands and the wives are all there, the couples are all there, everyone's having fun talking whatever. Rulla, not Rulla, but Liz wants to call Rulla to check on her, so she calls her. We find out that Brian dropped her off at home and he's now at the hospital with his mom and dad, and she's just like they're working things out, whatever. Um, Joe Ellen, says some nice words to her, just like, don't worry about it, y'all. Take care of his mom, blah, 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 blah. Once they get off the phone with her, Joellen gets a message from her friend who's telling her that the mistress, that Brian is trying to see the mistress right now. Liz doesn't believe it. She wants proof, and she's just like, I don't believe it. They get to the polo match. The guys go and do their thing. The girls do their thing. They all come back together or whatever. Rosie does the coin toss. She and Joellen are talking about her house. Talking about her house and how it's going. Rulla and Brian show up. Kelsey and Joellen start talking about Rosie and how they talk about Rosie and how she's exaggerating and her house isn't going to be 8,000 square feet when it's done, and da 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 da, just she's just lying and all this other stuff. They talk about Rulla's wedding ring. They're talking about Rulla's wedding ring, and um Kelsey tries it on. So she goes over to Gary, Brian, and Billy, her boo, and they're like, "Oh, whose ring is that?" And she was just like, "Oh, this is Rulla's." And she's asking them, "Where's your ring? Where's your ring?" And Brian doesn't have his ring on, so she runs to go and tell Joellen that Brian doesn't have his ring on. So Joellen tells Rulla, and he's just like, "Oh, when he realizes when um when Kelsey had asked him about his wedding ring, and he was just like, "Oh man, it's in the car. I took it off when I was greasing my son's hair, and I must have forgot to put it back on once I put it in a tray." So she runs to go and tell Joellen. Joellen tells Rulla. Rulla's just like, "What the hell?" And he goes to the car. He puts on the ring in the confessionals. Joellen is just like, "Oh, he doesn't have his ring on because he took it off and he left it on the dresser at the mistress's house." And then they showed a flashback of when they were at Angelo's and he had his ring on, and then now he doesn't. So of course, again, he goes to the car, he finds his ring, he puts it on. Let's see. Yeah, so he runs to the car, he puts his ring on. As he's doing that, Joellen tells this is when Joellen tells Liz about him taking off the ring and all this other stuff, and they show the flashback. So Joellen and Rosie are talking about not letting their husbands not take off their rings or not wearing their rings or whatever, how they would be so pissed or whatever. So the ladies go and have a seat, and Joellen says the mistress just posted a pic, and she shows it to Liz. And they're looking at it and they're just like, this was in Brian's car from 2 hours ago. So Joellen does the timeline of events or whatever. And I was just like, at this point, Joellen, leave it alone. The fact that you have post notifications for this lady, because okay, yes, you are you weren't just scrolling on Instagram. You got a notification that this lady posted. And so you are actively looking for stuff so that you can prove to this woman that her husband is cheating on her. After this woman has all but told you she does not care if he is cheating on her, she's going to stick beside him. But because you want to be so right, it's your way or not. And it's just like, leave it alone. Let her be stupid in her stupidness. Like, I don't get why I don't get what's doing you in making sure that she knows that her husband is cheating. Pay attention to your household. Don't worry about somebody else's household. Leave it alone. Like, I just don't get it. So at this point, because she's shown proof to Liz now believes it. So she pulls Rulla and she tells her she wants to talk to her because they had walked off to the side. And she goes and gets and Brian also gets an alert. And as he gets this alert, he's talking to Gary and talking about how he doesn't want to hurt people and being stuck in the middle or whatever. So Liz comes over with Rulla and says, "We got to talk." So they walk to the side and he's just like, "I'm not doing this on camera," and we're leaving. So he's like taking off the mic pack and all this other stuff. Because he's just like, "I'm not about to have this conversation." So Liz tells Rulla, she shows Rulla the story, and it's just like, she just posted this, and Brian is putting it on Joe Ellen, and says and Joe Ellen is just like, "I'm not lying," and then she walks off. She pulls Rulla to the side, so Joe Ellen and Rulla go off to talk, and Liz is asked Brian what's going on, and then we see the other couples trying to figure out what's going on, and then they're like, talking because they know about the whole thing with Brian and the mistress and Rulla or whatever. So Alicia says, no, Joellen shows Rulla and tells her, "This is what it is. This is a picture. This is from his car from 2 hours ago, X, Y, and Z." So we see Alicia come up, and she's just like, she's asking Brian what's going on. He tells her this was a long time ago, X, Y, and Z. She says, "I believe him, whatever. If Rulla has forgiven him, then that's it. And it is what it is at this point. If she's forgiven him, then they can keep it. Ain't no point in continuing to talk about it or harp about it, because clearly she doesn't care." So Liz says, Joellen has after she told Rulla and showed her the picture, she went off to go and be with the other couples or whatever. And it's Alicia, Liz, Brian, and Rulla are all together. So not Alicia, but Rulla is saying that Joellen is hanging with the wrong people, and Joellen, not Joellen, I'm so sorry, y'all. Liz says sorry. Liz says Rulla has to stop blaming Joellen, and Rulla says she's hanging around the wrong people, and the pot keeps getting stirred because she's communicating with them. And she wouldn't do that to Liz. She wouldn't do that to Alicia. She wouldn't do that to them. Liz says, but they are telling her things, and it's because she's asking for these things. Like she said it early in the episode, she has to prove them wrong. She has to prove that she's right. So she's actively asking people to get this information for her, which is why she keeps getting all the information. And it goes to what Rulla said. She's hanging around the wrong people because she's over here trying to get all this information on a friend's relationship to low-key tear it apart. Like, at this point, if the girl is telling you that she's not going nowhere, you already said your piece. Quit trying to find information. but she's steady trying to find more information so she can prove it to this girl that your husband is still cheating on you. She don't care if her husband is still cheating on her. That's what you don't understand. Because at the end of the day, you're going to look like the bad person because you keep getting this information and spreading it when this person, right, the person who it's pertaining, does not care about the information because she's not leaving her husband. So Liz says in her confessionals that Rulla just needs to face it. And no, she tells them, y'all need to face it. And Brian is ready to go. So he's just like, we got to go. Rich says there should be like a mistress etiquette or whatever. And Joellen says it's because Brian doesn't want to leave Rulla and he wants Rulla to leave him. And that's why he's letting the mistress post all the stuff or whatever. So that's how the episode ends. And yeah, this was a good episode. I mean, these ladies are bringing it. Every episode has been, it's been something every episode. But I just need Joellen to leave it alone at this point because Rulla does not care. She is not leaving her husband. Leave it alone because you look like a dog with a bone that just won't let it go. And that's not cute. It's not. Like, I mean, I get it. I get that you want to tell her, like, you being a girl's girl or whatever, or you trying to be a friend and you're telling her about it, but you've already told her about it. At this point, she don't care about it. So the fact that you are the one who seems to care about it, she's going to make you look like the bad person because you keep spreading this information to everybody. Not only are you spreading it around Rhode Island, you're the one who keeps bringing it up to the crew, to the group, and it's being shown on national TV. So it's just like, girl, leave it alone. But of course, she's not going to leave it alone because she wants to be right. And she going to lose a friend if that's, I mean, clearly they weren't friends because, yeah, I guess. But yeah, that was the episode. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, turning on your post notifications. Get down in the comments. Tell me what you guys thought of this episode, and I will see you guys in the next one.